Hello, and a big warm welcome to this week's episode of the Soul Sync podcast. Now, if this is your first time clicking on the Soul Sync, firstly, a big welcome to you. We dive deep here into all things regarding personal growth, self-development, mediumship, the spirit world, the universe at large, energy. Honestly, the list really is endless. So this week, we've got a really amazing guest. And we're going to be diving deep into the realms of spiritual enlightenment with a truly remarkable guest. So do join me in welcoming José Gosschalk, who is a luminary in yoga, palm reading, mediumship, and spiritual wisdom. Now, José's journey began with yoga age 18, leading her on a path of self-discovery and spiritual exploration. From teaching to organising retreats in India, her journey evolved, intertwining with the mystic arts. In 2000, José embraced mediumship, becoming a beacon of enlightenment for countless souls. Her Academy of Mediumship has guided students from across Europe, illuminating the path to inner clarity. Now, beyond her practice, José authored the book Mediumship, A Gift from Heaven, offering profound insights into the spirit world. Guided by Eastern masters, José's quest for self-discovery transcends the mundane, echoing the interconnectedness of all beings. Now, today, José stands as a guiding light in a world seeking answers to life's deepest questions. So join us as we uncover the essence of our true selves in this captivating episode of Soul Sync. Enjoy. José, thank you so much for joining me on the Soul Sync podcast.
Thank you for inviting me, Jason. I'm looking forward to talk to you.
I'm looking very forward to it. I've been really looking forward to talking to you. So people have heard a lot about your background. In the introduction, I'll be honest with you, José, it's the most incredible background. Before we get kind of really stuck into things, because there is naturally a lot of questions I want to ask you. Tell me about what got you into spirituality. What was your journey into becoming a medium?
A medium, because before, many years before, I started to get into spirituality, but into mediumship.
Take us right back to even the yoga, because I think that's very relevant.
All right. I think I was 17 or 18, and I found two little booklets with yoga exercises, and I had my own shop. I had an antique shop, and lived above the shop. And if there was nobody in the shop, I quickly ran upstairs and went into one of the asanas just to get some peace of mind. And after that, I turned to become a yoga teacher for many years, for children, blind people, adults, teenagers, old people, everything. And traveled a lot to India, also with groups of yoga students to ashrams. And after a certain time, I met somebody, and she went to the Art of Finkley College, and that was 25 years ago. And it just touched my heart, only the name and the sound and the feeling of the Art of Finkley College. And I went along, actually not really knowing where I was going to.
I was the same.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. I just turned up with my bags thinking I was having a weekend away.
But that's really the calling of the soul, huh?
It
That's
is.
being guided by your guides, and you're listening, although you're not knowing that you are listening. You just do it.
You do, and it's kind of funny when I look back, when I even booked it, I didn't really give it any real thought. I just booked it and turned up, and then I got there and I thought, what have I done? This place, it's so magical. So
Yes.
you arrived there with your bags was it a particular, was it a mediumship course?
Yes, mediumship and different levels, mixed levels. And I was 40, I think, or 44. And I was, you could choose in which group you wanted. And I thought, well, I go with the course organizer. That will be the best group. Well, Jason, after one day, I said, please, can I go into a less experienced group because I had no clue what I was doing. And then I met my what turned out to be my teacher in mediumship, Paul Jacobs. So I met him in the first week, and he's been a wonderful teacher. He is for so many people a fantastic teacher. So I fall in love with mediumship. I always had that feeling of I missed something. Whatever I did, although I loved it, whatever I did, go to India, etc., I missed something. I felt so lonely. And when I came to the college, I thought I found it. I really thought I found it. And also because Paul was talking about Gordon Higginson, which was really getting really straight to my heart, the way he spoke about him. And with Paul himself also, we had a very good heart-to-heart meeting. Every time we met each other, it was fine. It was okay. We understood each other. And then also he could teach me something, and probably maybe I taught him something on the way. So I stick to Paul, and I felt, yeah, that's the man who can show me the ins and outs of this not easy subject.
Did you, before you arrived at the Arthur Findlay College, had you had kind of any spirit kind of mediumship experiences? Because it sounds to me like you really had this calling. You knew something was missing, but you
Yes.
couldn't quite sense perhaps what that was. And then you followed your intuition. But had you had kind of mediumistic experiences prior to going to the college?
I always knew that what was missing was something beyond. I knew I wouldn't be able to get it in the world or from something. I knew it was beyond the mind, beyond the physical. And then when I stepped into mediumship, I thought, that's it, because that's beyond the physical. But I found out quickly that you can only find it within yourself. And when I was about 7 years old, I had one experience where I saw somebody, a friend of my father, who just passed, and I was sitting on his lap, and I said, "Look, there's Uncle so and so," and he started to cry. So my mom took me away from that situation, and as a child, you think, I've done something wrong. But that was really later I understood that spirit was there to make sure that I would keep that memory, so that I would later on see, yes, they had that plan. Yeah. And when I was 14 years old, I very often had the experience when I was in bed, laying in bed, and then just before I fall asleep, I would get that feeling within my throat as if everything was turning white, 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 and I could feel I was going somewhere. And of course, I stood up and ran downstairs to my parents. That stayed for quite a long time and came back later also. Even when I had contact with the spirit world, it came back. Yeah.
What was it that experience of the sort of the what you feared at the beginning, that experience of the light that later came back when you started to consciously connect with the spirit world? What is that experience that you were having now? Do you better understand it?
Um, I can't say for sure, but I always explained it to myself that I was able to, if I would have gone with it, I always stopped it because I was afraid of it. But I maybe in the East we can call it samadhi. So you get a very blissful feeling, and you're out of that mind structure. Afterwards, okay, you're just the same as you were before. But because we relax so easily and so deeply before we go to sleep, and I did already since I was a young girl. I was already I didn't do yoga at that age, but I was always interested to. My parents had that little phrase when I walked up the stairs: change the world for the better, but begin with yourself. So that already, since I was 7 years old, I saw it every day, and that every day I knew something will happen in that sense. I will do something.
That's incredible. So kind of fast forwarding on, you've now been a medium for over 2 decades, and you've even got an Academy of Mediumship, which you're now a teacher yourself, teaching hundreds of students all over Europe, Holland, Belgium, Germany, and even Russia.
Yeah.
What you and I just want to sort of rewind a little bit before I sort of delve right into that. You did mention that the journey of mediumship starts within you. It sounded to me like that was quite a profound lesson you had to learn at the beginning.
It starts within everyone. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a journey of healing at the beginning, would you say? Or is me, would you describe mediumship as there's a lot of healing that needs to take place in order for you to be able to do it?
Well, needs to take place that is quite closed. And I don't know if that is for everybody so. For me, yes, I didn't feel like something had to be healed when I started because I found I had found it. So there was nothing
In
to heal,
yoga,
there was
kind of.
something to
You,
celebrate.
yes, okay.
But along the way, yeah, you get across so many obstacles in the sense that mediumship shows very quickly the, the, the not the darker side, I don't like dark, but more the heavy side of our personality. Because there's never a script we can follow. So we always have to trust on what we feel, what we sense and see and hear. And when we get a yes, then we feel ta-da. But when it is no, 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 and we don't have a lot of experience, we don't know how to turn that no into a yes. It can create a negative energy for ourselves, and we have to heal that. We can
Mm.
only heal that ourselves to turn our mind into a different direction. Because I really have, if I have a conviction, I have this one: nobody can hurt you. Nobody can do anything, any harm to you. You only have to be careful what your own mind thinks. You have to be careful for your own thoughts.
I think it sounds simple, but it's very profound. I think that what you're saying is exactly right. Um, so have you got kind of some almost like moments throughout your journey where you've had learnings as you've evolved as a medium? What has where over 20 years is a very long time to be doing this. Talk us through kind of your development and how you kind of grew into this place of being a teacher.
Okay, well, first of all, I wasn't afraid. I had no purpose. I didn't have that plan. I want to become a medium. I want to become a healer. I want to become a speaker, a teacher. I had that plan not at all. So it went very quite natural. And Paul said very quickly when I came to the college, join us tonight in the service. And I thought that was quite normal for students who came from different countries. I thought all those who were from England would do the same when if I wasn't there, if there wasn't someone from Holland. So I just did it. And only years later, I understood that it was quite a challenge to do that. But then it happened already. And so if you're not conscious about it, then you just do it very natural. I got used very quickly to get no compliments because Paul is teaching in a different way. And my father was the same, I never got compliments, but there was a bond and you could feel the love from the other person. So you knew it's okay what happened. So that was not a struggle. Um, it it happened. I had little groups here. Um, Only in the morning. They came for 10 mornings, and after those sessions, they said, please continue. And then slowly, some other people started to teach as well, but they had no real good education. So they started to blah, 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 blah. And then people came to me and they said, oh, I heard there and there my aura is dirty or broken or black holes in it. Can you help me? And that actually was the reason why the academy came into fact.
Into fruition. That was what
Yeah,
drove you to start. That was maybe people really feeling a need to
yeah. There
find
was
this.
a big need, and so uh, uh, the sentence was 3-year academy education. I had nothing. It was just a phrase. And then students come, and then you go slowly from one particular subject to another. And in that way, the 3 years developed. And uh, my brother said one day when he came to the college, and I brought him to the airport and with Paul, and my brother said, why don't you start a Dutch week at the college? And Paul was very enthusiastic. And I said, yes, let's do it. And I had no clue how to get the people, but I had already students. So it started like that because if I organize a Dutch week, yeah, Paul said you have to be a teacher then as well. It was a little bit easier in those days as well to start teaching at college.
I think as well, because I don't, I've been to Holland, but I know that we are very spoiled in England in terms of spirituality being, so prevalent. There being spirit SNU churches in sort of every major town. There's loads of them. What do you feel that maybe because there's less of that in Holland, but that was really what kind of catapulted your, it sounds to me that it all kind of just happened. There wasn't a lot of, planning or thought. It just,
It
people were
just
just
happened.
finding you.
It was just happening. It was
That's the
just happening.
magical, isn't it?
Yeah, and really, Jason, when I organized a demonstration, I booked a little church where 150 people could sit, and I was in bed, and I thought, my goodness, how can I fill this, And it happened every time to be sold out without
Wow.
any big advertisement. It was just through. I always put one sentence under every email I sent, and so that's how it
Word of mouth
spread.
has
Yeah, word of
spread.
mouth, really. Yeah.
So the spirit world, how do you typically, when your students arrive with you, how do you um get people from that point of having an interest in mediumship to be able to start to learn to be a medium themselves? What's your kind of process of mentoring people?
Very much involved is that Mm, um, I call it inner quest. Very much I speak about in between the day about who are you? Why do you want to do this? Who are you in essence? And how do you see the spirit world? And why do you want to work with them? Those main questions are important, and nobody gets away from those questions with me.
Those can be quite hard questions, though, at times to
Yeah,
ask yourself. And it's, I think that one thing that shone out to me when you was explaining about your journey into mediumship, I think that you maybe your upbringing, it sounds like, played a big part in the fact that I think a lot of people get so in their own minds about having to, get do a reading and get feedback and it be positive. And the fact that you had no expectation, you were kind of, fine with the fact that you wasn't getting positive feedback. And all of these kind of things in your mind, which, crop up for a lot of people, weren't necessarily affecting you, which,
true.
it seemed
It was
to,
the other way around for me. I was never looking really like, oh my God, if I'm not good or the feedback is not good. I was always looking. Um, I find it a bit difficult to work with this person. I've got to do something so it will be easy for me to
mm,
work with that person. So I very quickly found out that if I was able to touch that soul, to touch the essence of the person in front of me, then everything was fine.
that's very interesting. So you're trying to almost in a way get their energy into the right place with you, and once that energy is there, then you found it easier to work.
Yeah, not so much their energy to the point of personality or how they feel, because everybody who comes to a sitting is a bit nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah? How will it go? Will the medium be able to get my partner close to them? And will she be honest? Will she be good? Everybody is a bit nervous. But I tapped into who that person is behind that outer look,
Mm.
behind that face, behind that personality. Just go in deep in contact. Just tap into the soul.
That's a really
As
interesting way of putting it. Yeah, I can totally see. I think you just touched on something there, but when you get that light bulb moment in your own mind, I thought, that makes total sense. So when you teach students now and you kind of go through the motions, what do you tend to find that trip people up the most when trying to go on their journey of developing?
Can you say it once more? Because
Yeah, so when people are trying to develop their mediumship, when
yeah,
students come to you, what
yeah,
do you tend to find a lot of the time is their challenges as they progress, or do the challenges differ when they first start to when they're trying to,
yeah,
become more advanced or
yeah, yeah. I love beginners because that openness and
Mm,
that joy and that wonder feeling that they can do it. I love that. And then along the way, um, what I did in those 3 years was almost, not always, but almost every exercise we started, they had to be still and blend with their own essence. And I saw that many people, and I know you can step into that power immediately, but because people came to the academy, not after they had done 1 or 2 years developing on their they didn't do any self inquiry. Sometimes people had no clue who they are. So, and later on, I can see that if people Every time, sit still, blend with yourself, then blend with the person opposite you for a second, and then blend with the spirit world. That is so important, and yeah, people do forget that, and then they get into trouble, and yeah, I sent them back.
So another thing that really jumped out to me in your background when I was doing some research before speaking to you was since the age of 25, you'd very much been drawn to the teachings of Eastern masters.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I really noticed was that through what you've studied and things like that, you understand that the essence of a person transcends the mundane, and each one of us is intricately connected to the entire universe. Tell us more about what you've learned about these teachings of Eastern masters and what journey that's taken you on in perhaps your own mediumship.
Oh, yeah, sure. Um, the Eastern, what I was hoping to find was that moment where I would know, would see, would realize, to get that answer on why am I here in this life? What am I doing here? Although I'm enjoying here, what is the real purpose of life? So I was hoping to get there, and I met wonderful teachers in the Far East, as well as here, of course. But I always felt home, Jason. As soon as I walked out of the airplane and I smelled India, I felt home. And um, I really can say now that if you once, even if it's for a split second, see who you really are, that the mind is not a separate entity or anything else than letters and sound and ideas and judgments and and emotions. If you see just for a split second that the mind is not true, you're free. And that was, I didn't know what I was looking for, but it felt like that's where I can get the answer.
Did you ever get the answer to the question, why am I here?
It's not an answer in words, but there was a moment where I saw the mind doesn't exist. And you cannot explain that, because then it would be an experience. And an experience starts, uh, stays for a little while, and goes away again. And what you are in essence is here, is now. Whatever happens, happens. That's the source. That's who we are. Without past, without ideas about the future, without. And if you realize that, then all the moments where challenges come in life, because that will continue, and all the great moments, the joy and the sadness and the pain and whatever, it will continue. But you are not confused anymore by what
Mm.
happens, because that background, that essence, that will never leave, because you are it.
Through all your experience, what's your kind of view on physical death? Is it something that scares you? Is it something that you sort of feel, I'm when that day comes, how has it changed the way that you live your life, through what you've learned and what you've understood and what you've experienced?
when I became a medium, I was afraid of dying. Yeah.
Yes, I was as well.
And I felt very safe by knowing it very quickly that I was never alone anymore. I used to blind my front door window when my husband was not home because I always felt there's somebody watching me. And I thought it was from outside, but later I understood because it didn't go away when I put a blanket or a towel in front of the window. But mediumship, I cannot believe that anyone who is developing mediumship is still afraid for dying. I mean, that love, that comfort, that healing, that we are there for you is so strongly. How can you be afraid of death? There is no death. And who is
Yes.
born? Nobody is born either. Only in the dualistic world.
That is very true. So you went on to work on a book, Mediumship, A Gift from Heaven.
Hmm.
Tell us about the book and what led you to become involved with it and what it's all about.
The book is it's not a biography, but it's a book which we used in the classes. Let's say there is a chapter about private sittings. So the students were told next time we work that day on private sittings, so read that chapter. And then DEMS and speaking ethics, very very big ethics, trance, everything was there. So it's more a workbook. Not that they work in it, no exercises, but they were reading it and they could ask questions when they came to the course again. Yeah, and people are still using it. I hear it a lot that people use it for their own courses. They give it, or they say to students, this is on the book list. They use it themselves. So it's a very practical book.
Well, in terms of
I'll show you the cover.
oh yes, please do. Yes, the book's called Mediumship, A Gift from Heaven. Oh wow, it's quite a big book, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, it's a very big book. It's is it translated into English?
Oh, no.
No. Oh, that's such a shame. Maybe that's next. I'll have to start, Jose, trying to persuade you because it looks like a fabulous book. Um, I always ask guests to what advice would you give to people who are trying to develop their mediumship? I won't sort of coach you along too much, but what advice would you give to people now having the benefit of hindsight and experience?
I would say sit with spirit in the beginning, and hopefully you fall in love with sitting in that power, in your own power and their power. I don't put them on a higher place, on a pedestal, but you know who we are in essence, and pure, free, boundless energy. That's how they live as well. There are no boundaries for them. So I really show the people or try to explain to them that if they are boundless, if they are free, if there is no physical body, no physical pain, etc., no mortgage, whatever, and they come to us to tell us we're still alive, these are my personality, this is how I died, etc., etc. We forget often that they come to show us that they are free, that they live in a place which is not a place with doors and walls. It's boundless, it's free, totally free. And they want us to see that we don't have to believe in all those convictions, in all those pains, in all those. They come to us to blend with us so we can feel their love and hopefully we take that love a little bit more serious, or get in love with that, so that we can, if we sit long enough with them, or often enough with them, that we start to believe that we don't have to be dependent, not on them, not on anybody, but we can be free ourselves. And that's our blessing, that we work with the spirit world, because in normal daily life, there's nobody who can show us that life is to live and not to be painful.
That's a very beautiful way of articulating it, Josie, I must say.
I see it as the message behind the message.
mm,
And that's my main thing these days in mediumship, that yes, the other part is necessary too, but there are so many beautiful mediums who can give evidence, and I do, but mainly I like to not help people, because I don't believe we can help people, but we can point out, look there.
mm. Do you look at your work as you know, do you look at it as healing in itself, bringing, you know, sort of comfort to people? Do you feel that what you do is healing?
Hopefully, yes. But again, I don't do it. But I always try to throw people back to their essence. And if
Mm,
that's through mediumship, or through healing, or through a good talk, it doesn't matter. I always throw them back to what they are. Yeah. So I don't help them. I just point out, look there.
you guide them to help them guide themselves in a way, I guess.
Yeah. Self-inquiry. Yeah. Are you the body? Are you the mind? We always know how to express how the neighbor, what type of person the neighbor is, how he is, how she is. And we don't know how we are, who we are,
Mm.
what we are.
What do you think the future of mediumship and spirituality looks like? Do you think that we're going to start getting back to a place where people are connecting more? And because we're, I guess, as a society, we're more connected than we've ever been in some ways, but in other ways, we're not at all.
Yeah, but that will always stay the same, Jason, because we live in a dualistic world.
Mm.
And so it goes a little bit of more of this, a little bit more of that, that. It will always be
Yeah, that's very
dualistic.
true. I guess it's the nature of the spirit world and us being in the physical world where you're always going to have a bit of that anyway.
Yes.
Would you like to leave us with any final thoughts, Jose? Not to put you on the spot, but I always ask people, would you like to leave us with a closing thought?
Hmm. Oh, this is it. Let
Okay,
joy be it. Because when we laugh, there's no time to think negative.
there's not. I agree with you. Well, thank
So
you.
laugh a lot.
I will definitely be taking that away from this. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful story. And I think that from everything I've seen and heard, I think you're the most wonderful medium where you really, you know, I can just tell the love and the essence of what you do. And it's all driven by love. I really feel that. So thank you for taking some time to come on to the Soul Sync and share your your very wise words and experiences with us.
Pleasure, Jason. Thank you a lot. A lot.
Well, there we go. Thank you for joining me on this week's edition of the Soul Sync podcast. Now, if you do want to find out more about Jose, you can just go to the show notes where you'll find her website, and also there you'll find the Facebook page Also, my YouTube channel handle if you want to find out more about my videos that I'm posting as I get out in nature. In the summer, I'm going to be recording some videos about some of my experiences, some of the lessons I've learned along the way, and just some of my general thoughts as they come to me. So, a big thank you, and until next week, much love. Goodbye.